Welcome to Over 50 and Flourishing. In this episode, I am thrilled to welcome back the incredible Tamsen Fadal. Tamsen is an award-winning journalist, a menopause advocate, and one of social media's beloved midlife mentors, inspiring a community of more than 3 million women. After more than 3 decades as a news anchor, she boldly pivoted her career toward empowering women through health advocacy, becoming a go-to resource for navigating midlife and beyond. Tamson is the executive producer of the new PBS documentary, The M Factor, and the author of the highly anticipated book, How to Menopause. Whether it's tackling women's health, sharing tips to help us live our best lives, she is a trusted best friend who just gets it. And she's my trusted friend as well. Get ready for a candid and inspiring conversation you won't want to miss. Hey there, just checking in to see how things are going for you during the holiday season. I know you are checking off your list for those in your life, and you can do that for yourself included with Jenny Kane. You cannot forget about their home essentials like the giftable candles and the splurge-worthy decor. In fact, the holiday votive gift set just dropped, makes for the perfect stocking stuffer, but this set never lasts too long, so shop while you can. Gift yourself and your loved ones the best gift of all, Jenny Kane, and our listeners get 15% off your first order when you use code Dominique15 at checkout. That's 15% off your first order at JENNIKAYNE.com, promo code Dominique15. Let getting dressed be one less thing to worry about. 'Tis the season for some shapewear, fa la 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 la. Yes, yours truly is wearing her favorite Honey Love bra. The best-selling crossover bra is so comfy, it will be your go-to. No pinching, no binding, all the support you need, and underwires, sorry y'all, those things are a thing of the past. Treat yourself to the best bras and shapewear on the market. Shop Honey Love's holiday sale and save an additional 20% off site-wide at honeylove.com/over50. Use our exclusive link to get 20% off, honeylove.com/over50, to find your perfect fit. After your purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show. Tell them we sent you. It is time to ditch the underwire for good, thanks to Honey Love. Do you know VHS tapes will degrade over time? How long have you been putting off digitizing some of your old home movies and photos? I finally got it done. It was so much easier than expected thanks to iMemories. All you need to do, load your tapes into the Safe Ship kit and send it in. They organized everything for me. They even split my movies into scenes so I could easily find my favorite memories. And then the app lets me share my movies from my device. So simple. iMemories is offering our listeners 50% off digitization. Get started now for just $15. Go to imemories.com/over50 to get your Safe Ship kit for sending in your home movies. Then use our promo code over50 for half off your digital conversion. That is imemories.com/over50. Tamsen, it's so good to see you. Hi, welcome back to Over 50 and Flourishing. My gosh, if anybody is flourishing, my dear, it is you. You are on fire.
I hope you literally some days.
Some days. I hope you feel the good heat that is surrounding you, because you took a leap of faith and you went into something and moved forward toward a passion project. And I think it exceedingly abundantly went above and beyond anything you could have ever anticipated. So I talked a little bit in the intro about what it is that you're doing now. When you were on my podcast before, you were making that transition, leaving the news business. We talked about our shared stories of having similar paths, and you left for your purpose. So walk us through that purpose and what this journey has been like for you.
Well, first of all, it's so good to see you. Congratulations on everything you have going on, my friend, because I follow you from afar. And I don't know if people believe it or not, we've never met in person, but we will.
We will.
But I feel so close to you that I can't even believe that part. Yeah, I just feel like we've had such shared experiences. I
Mhm.
left almost a year. Well, I'm sorry, a little over a year ago now.
Yeah.
I left the news business. You know that it was something I confided in you. I was thinking about for a long time, and I was scared, and I was nervous. And you were like, "It's you know what? It's okay. When it's your time, you're gonna know."
Mhm.
And I left there, and I had been working and talking to a lot of people about menopause advocacy, and that had been a large part of what I was working on. And another part of it was a documentary that we had been filming for a few years, not really sure what we were going to do with it, not sure if it was going to be on YouTube or what we were going to do.
Mhm.
But we wound up getting picked up by PBS to air it there. And that happened in October of this year, right before World Menopause Day, which was super exciting. But I think what happened after that was just as exciting, which
Mhm.
is the women took the documentary and decided they wanted to see it in their own communities. So we gave it to them so they could do that. And it has now gone all over the world. So
It
I'm really excited.
You should be excited. And, I have seen you embrace the menopause movement. And it really is a movement when you think about it. And
Yeah.
you can think of certain key players who have kind of taken over social media by storm. You are definitely one of them, Dr. Mary Claire Haver, Naomi Watts. I mean, there's so many people who have just said enough is enough. It's time to maybe pivot from what it is that we've been doing that is no longer serving people and move into an area where women desperately need to be served. And generally, it's your own struggles, right, in that area that call you. And you went through that. Just kind of walk everybody through your own journey in menopause and why that became your cause.
Yeah, I had no idea it was going to be. That's for sure.
Mm.
I was always really interested in midlife and like kind of the now what's next, what are we doing next in our chapters, and it was fall of 2019, and I was in the middle of a newscast, and I was looking at words in the prompter, and every once in a while I'd be like, I know that word, I can't, like I couldn't get it out of my mouth, almost like very scary. And we were into a commercial break, and I felt this feeling of just this surge of heat and my heart racing out of control. Like I feel like I'm gonna be sick or fall over. And I said out loud in the studio, if I fall over, somebody catch me. And I said it kind of joking because I worked in a studio of all men, but I knew I wasn't right. I was off balance. And one of the sports anchors said, I think you should get off the set. And he walked me to the ladies' room, and I dropped down to the floor.
Mm.
And I was like, what in the world? What's going on with me? I wound up going doctor to doctor because it wasn't really, I didn't know it was menopause or I didn't know it was a symptom of anything. And he later said to me, like, I thought there was something, you were having a heart issue. Like, I didn't know what was going on with you. It was really scary. And so I wound up going doctor to doctor, and I ended up doing a blood panel, and I got a note back in my patient portal from the OBGYN I had seen for, I don't know, 20 years. And it said, in menopause, any questions, dot, dot, dot. And that was what was in my portal. I know. I looked at it, I was like,
Any
what?
questions, ellipsis?
Yeah,
Really?
ellipsis. And I was standing in the airport with Ira, my now husband, and I'm like,
Huh. What does this
I'm in
mean?
menopause. And he goes, like, no, man. I don't even know if he just didn't know what to say. We were getting on a plane, and I go, I can't have children. And he was like, I thought we
We
already
did.
had that. Did we already have that conversation? And
Yep.
so I said,
Right.
yeah, but like they just like told me officially. So I just didn't know what to think. I just really didn't. And I just knew that I was confused by it. But then I realized, going back and looking at all of these years of different of weight gain, of
Mm.
being tired all the time, of my body, my news girl dresses not fitting like they used to. I
Right.
knew all these things that I kept attributing to stress from a divorce, stress from my job, getting
Mm.
older. I didn't realize that that's what I was leading up toward.
Yeah. Surprise.
Yeah,
Surprise.
it's here. Any
Yeah.
questions?
And yeah, exactly. So, like many other women who face the ellipsis, which we're not going
Yes.
to call it, if they even got that, it's amazing how many women have struggled in getting not only an accurate diagnosis, but
Yeah.
then let's just say an accurate protocol to help them in this journey. And I
Mhm.
think that's where everybody got lost, and that's where the anger and the frustration was
Yeah.
that the medical community had essentially dropped the ball on one hand, and on the other hand, women our age, up till that point, we really weren't talking about it
Yeah.
until we started to. And what was that like for you? Because I know it was scary for me to kind of come out and start talking
Yeah.
about it, and I'm sure it wasn't easy on your end either.
Yeah, I mean, I think that we both come from a career where youth is, regaled. Like that's what, you want to try to stay as young as possible in front of the camera. That was always what I was, the mental narrative that
Mhm.
is so wrong, I now see. But I think I was afraid to do it because I think it was like this admission of, oh gosh, she's gotten old. And that was really what I was afraid of. I was afraid of like, I mean, all these words that went through my head, like not relevant, not as quick and fast as smart as she used to be. All these horrible things that we as a society have to learn how to, we have a lot of work to do, but menopause is a big part of that, especially for women. And so, yeah, it was really scary for me. And I remember I'd go, through the newsroom and be like, oh, you're talking about menopause again. And so I thought, oh gosh, is this a friend of mine said to me, you should stop doing that. It's not very sexy and it's not going to do wonders for your career. And
Mm.
she meant it. Like she came from a generation before me and she meant it. She meant that, that wasn't a great look on a woman. And I think that that's awful. And now I realize that I have a voice in all of that.
Mm. That's interesting, and I'm glad that that one voice didn't shut you down. And I will say, on the flip side too, what was happening in social media was becoming such a neat vehicle, shall we say, to be
Hmm.
able to tell that
Hmm.
story, right? Because suddenly you're doing it in cool ways, you're doing it in trending ways with text and with music and all of that. So, did you find that suddenly not only is menopause cool, but it can be really creative if you
Can
sink a
be.
teeth into it,
It can be. Well,
right?
I started it on TikTok because I was originally like, I know people over on Instagram. I'm not sure if I want everyone to know that yet. So I'm going to go to TikTok because so
Mhm.
was my dirty little social media secret.
Right.
And then once I like started doing it, yeah, it's really creative. But the cool part about it is that there's so many people that want to engage talking about it. Like they want to actually be part of the conversation. And that's where I found like my confidence and my strength, so that I didn't feel like, oh, it's me shouting into the wind. So yeah, it's been fun. I've had a good time with it. The documentary is much more serious. The book, I think, is going to allow us to like do some fun things. But I think that when I look at some of the creators doing some fun stuff around it, I'm like, that's a great idea. Like, how did they come up with that? So yeah, I enjoy it. And I think that lets us normalize the conversation, so we're not talking about it in textbooks all the time and talking about it in doctors' offices only, because that's the only way that it's going to become something that is not so hush hush.
Right. Talk about the evolution that you've seen. A lot of people have now stepped forward in these commonplaces, right, to have these conversations. What have you seen happen just over the past couple of years?
Yeah, I mean, I think that watching these women come forward in their communities has been really great. But we're seeing it in the media. Do you ever remember talking about it in the media for the past 20?
No,
Never.
no,
We did
not.
every Me neither. We did every diet. We did every kind of study there was, whatever it was. We talked about all these findings.
Yeah, erectile dysfunction got lots of play, but
Tons,
menopause nowhere
tons
to
of
be
play.
found.
Tons of play. You want to talk about ED? We got you. But not
Right.
not
Hair
menopause.
loss, we got you.
Yeah, any of that.
Yeah.
So that's where I think we did a real disservice. I'm seeing it more now, but it's still only captured if it's headlines. You know what I mean? I think that like if a study is done, but at least we're like moving that needle. Social media, I don't know if it's just my algorithm. It probably is like a lot of my algorithm, but like
Mhm.
tons of menopause, which is great. But I'm also seeing it because, obviously we know that businesses follow the money, and they're seeing this big audience of women. So now all of a sudden, there are all these different businesses that it's cool, to be menopausal. So I hear people being like, oh, I'm in menopause. I was like, wow, I never thought I would come to hear a time that women would be doing that, or
Yeah.
people would be doing that, and businesses embracing it. And I'm seeing little commercials trickle out, bit by bit. So that's encouraging to me.
Yeah, and me too. It is becoming a bit of a badge of honor. And
Yeah, it is. That's what I
really,
said to somebody
did you
recently.
really? I
I
mean,
swear.
I love the free flow of thought and conversation that's starting to happen. Women will
Yeah.
joke about their hot flashes, or immediately
Yeah.
they'll talk about,
Yeah.
what are you doing? This is what I'm on. I've
Yeah.
got the patch. What do you do? Blah, blah. So now the conversation is really, really coming from an informed place, which
Yeah.
is so
It is.
exciting to see, because women now have knowledge. It's not like, I don't know what this is and I don't know what to
Yeah.
do. Now there are certain keywords that are getting out there. And, there are people like you to thank for that, because you've normalized the
And
conversation.
you.
Well,
And you. I did say to somebody recently, it's become a new dinner party conversation. Like I used to go to a dinner party and people would be like, "Oh, tell me the craziest story you've ever covered." And now they're like, "Listen, I got to talk to you about this menopause. Like this is killing me. I got to
Yeah.
talk to you. What are you doing? Who are you seeing? Where are you going?" So I find it funny, and it's nice to see. It's nice to
Yeah.
see.
It's great to see. It's great. It's doing such a service to women, and may it continue. And I'm sure there are new discoveries, and doctors are working in so many areas to
Mhm.
tie so many aspects of it together with our lifestyle and our wellness and how all of that impacts menopause. So I'm just so excited and curious to see what the future holds in that area, as I am for you too. And I want to dive more into your documentary. You also have a new book that's going to be coming out. So your menopause world, the big M in your life is not
There's more.
is not done yet. So we'll talk more about that on the backside of this break. You are watching and listening to Over 50 and Flourishing. Boy, it's great today to be able to record everything on a cell phone and it just uploads to the cloud and you can play it so easily. But I come from the old school days of VHS tapes and beyond. So do you know VHS tapes will degrade over time? How long have you been putting off digitizing some of your old home movies and photos? I finally got it done. It was so much easier than expected thanks to iMemories. All you need to do, load your tapes into the Safe Ship kit and send it in. They organized everything for me. They even split my movies into scenes so I could easily find my favorite memories. And then the app lets me share my movies from my device. So simple. iMemories is offering our listeners 50% off digitization. Get started now for just $15. Go to imemories.com/over50 to get your Safe Ship kit for sending in your home movies. Then use our promo code over50 for half off your digital conversion. That is imemories.com/over50. Hey there, just checking in to see how things are going for you during the holiday season. I know you are checking off your list for those in your life, and you can do that for yourself included with Jenny Kane. First of all, you cannot forget about their home essentials like the giftable candles and the splurge-worthy decor. In fact, the holiday votive gift set just dropped, makes for the perfect stocking stuffer. But this set never lasts too long, so shop while you can. And speaking of yourself, if you're in the need of some coats, look no further than the Caroline coat and the Après coat. Both are a must-have for the season ahead, adding some drama to your coziness. Of course, the Jenny Kane sweaters are absolute classics. They've got beautiful dresses, you name it. Gift yourself and your loved ones the best gift of all, Jenny Kane. And our listeners get 15% off your first order when you use code Dominique15 at checkout. That's 15% off your first order at JENNIKAYNE.com, promo code Dominique15. Let getting dressed be one less thing to worry about. Welcome back. My guest today is my dear friend Tamsen Fadal, former news anchor / total menopause advocate. She is there for you on the social media scene now in documentary form with the new documentary called The M Factor, which has literally gone viral and global. Incredible. And she has a new book coming out. And we're going to talk about the title of the book and why that coming up with a title was probably harder than the words in the pages themselves, which can happen sometimes. But this documentary, you've been working on this for a long time. Kind of walk us through the documentary process. I would have to think as a journalist, that must have been really exciting because we generally get a minute 30 to tell a story, as you well know, which is very, very hard, and I would have to think, having an hour plus whatever is glorious. So talk about who you talk to and the stories and the things that you learned in the process of producing a documentary.
It's so funny. I was talking to one of my co-producers who she's in the documentary world. So she was like, I don't know how we're going to get all this in here. I'm like, what? We have an hour. What are you talking about? Because traditionally in television news, you get like, if 2 minutes is too long,
Sure.
So for me, that was like very freeing. It wound up that it was really hard actually, because we had so much incredible information and so many great stories, but we started out finding doctors that we thought could fit into different areas of whether it was sexual health or whether we're talking about brain with neuroscientist Lisa Mosconi, or we were talking about hormones and supplements and non-hormonal options. So we wanted to make sure we hit all these different areas, because I guess what I looked at was what were the questions that we were constantly getting, whether we were talking to women one on one or whether we were talking to women on social media. And a lot of it was just complete misinformation or no information. So
Mm.
it was important for me to cover those areas. And, I've never done a documentary before. This was my first. Two of my partners have done like 13 documentaries. So that was amazing to have that expertise in the room with me. But I know how to interview, and that's what I love doing. And I love people's stories. So we were able to combine the women's stories with doctors either that they were going to see or that were dealing with whatever they were dealing with. So it was nice to kind of watch the completion of whether they were on hormones, whether they were going into menopause younger. We have a woman in her early 30s that went into a medical menopause and didn't even know it,
Yeah.
to a woman who hadn't slept with her husband in over a decade. So we tried to hit all of these different areas of what we have seen as most common stories, and then talk to the different doctors to make sure we had as much research as possible and make sure we dispelled any of the misinformation that I think we carry around quite a bit. So it was exciting to see it come together finally, because it took a lot. It took crisscrossing the country because we wanted to make sure we hit different areas. And then for me, I think what was hard was not including everything, because I'm like, oh well, we did this. We have to do we have to have all of this. There's so much stuff. Because every time I found something that was interesting, I found something more interesting that I felt women needed to know.
Sure.
But when we finally completed the documentary and it aired on PBS, it was a sigh of relief to hear like women embraced it, because it's so scary. It's you never know what someone is going to think of something you've put so many years into.
What lesson did you learn about overcoming fear?
Oh gosh. I think I keep telling myself right now this, like, just go, like, just do it. Just stop the overthinking and just go. And I keep hearing myself say that somewhere in the back of my mind, no matter what it is, whether I'm right now looking at the book and like, I got to get all these galleys mailed out. I'm like, behind this computer is like all this stuff, like fans and bookmarks that are pink and all. And I'm looking at it. I'm like, I'm just paralyzed with fear. And instead I'm like, just go. That's how I feel. I can't breathe when I look at it. So I think that that's really what I've learned, because the documentary wouldn't have happened had we not just said, we're doing this.
Mm-hmm.
And then it wouldn't have gotten out there if we hadn't said, like, we're just going to share it with women and let them do what they're going to do with it. And what they've done, women are phenomenal. Like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm stunned every day. Like, I just have to sit there every day and I look through the pictures. I'm like, Dallas, Hong Kong, India, California, Florida, like, it just goes in rooms of 100 and 200 women at a time.
Wow.
So it's pretty amazing.
Where can people watch it? So it's PBS. So if they're outside the country, where can they see it?
Yeah, it's pbs.org. And right now we're in the process of signing for international rights, which is super exciting, because we've had a lot of requests from all over. It just needed to be like this next part of it. And so we're in the process of that, which as soon as we get that, we'll release. But pbs.org. And they also have something called PBS World.
Mm-hmm.
Or if they want to host it within their own community, they can just reach out to us at the mfactorfilm.com, and we'll send them a licensing agreement, and they can actually, they'll get a link to the film so they can watch it. We want to make sure that there was no
watch party.
money and we're, yeah.
Watch party, right?
Yeah, there are watch parties everywhere. So yeah, they can host their own watch party.
I love that. So that's the mfactorfilm.org, right?
.com.
Okay, the mfactorfilm.com. Okay. When you shot it, was there like one thing that surprised you, or just something that you learned that you thought, wow, I didn't know that?
Yeah, I think there was two. The one was and you know this just from talking to so many doctors, but the lack of education that doctors get in medical school was just, even though I knew it, I think it was just stunning to me. It was just stunning. And then I think the second thing was realizing that we haven't come that far in the research at all. Like, if I went back and looked, we were really working hard to find, new things to teach women about, about hormones, and really understand where we've come in the last 20 years. And that was really difficult to realize, like, how little doctors knew, so how little women knew. Like, everything kind of stopped 20 years ago and never went anywhere. And I think that was stunning for me.
It's shocking. It's so
shocking.
Disturbing. Because there's so much focus on, prepubescence and
Yeah.
pregnancy
Yeah.
and all of that. But it's like we stop, our
We
lives
just go
end.
like here.
Yeah,
Like
that's
that's
it.
it. Yeah.
Do you see any changes? I mean, I'm sure there's been a tremendous amount of talk in the medical community and the people you've spoken with
Yeah.
about changing the curriculum for doctors, or maybe even changing the awareness to get the funding for that critical research that needs to happen. Are you seeing any inroads there?
Yeah, there are some inroads with different places and different schools, which is exciting. I think that what I'd like to see is something that is a blanket kind of policy across the board. So we're not leaving it up to everybody individual. And we're not leaving it up to doctors to have to do their own research. Like that's awful. That's terrible. That most doctors have told me that they got a little bit, an hour to a month to a week to a month in medical school, and then after that, once they got into their offices, they had to do that studying on their own. So I think that's shocking. I think some of the inroads are going to come the more we have research and the more there's something to teach. And so I think that that's promising. And then we've got different places like Johns Hopkins or Weill Cornell that are doing research round the clock all the time to help move this ball forward.
Yeah. And you've worked really hard too about advocacy for women who are going through menopause in the workplace, because that's a whole other story. Is that kind of treatment and understanding that comes from more of, let's say, an HR side.
Yeah, it's interesting because we have so many different places of work, whether, you could be working in a store, you're working in an office, you're working, behind the wheel of a car. And so there's so many different areas to kind of navigate. But I think a lot of it's going to come from HR. A lot of it's going to come from employers that care,
Mm-hmm.
really is what we're talking about, because not everybody is going to have a big HR department to deal with all of this. I think that more than anything, I learned just recently, somebody said to me, hey, we wanted to do it, but the truth is we just think that like women can just talk about it in their community. And I went, what? This
Yeah.
isn't just like a women can talk about it in their community thing. This is something that we have to pay attention to as we have women older and older in the workplace. And it shouldn't be something that's used against them. So that's always like that tricky balance that I want to make sure of, that we don't punish women at the same time. So I'm seeing a little more in terms of inroads. I see a lot of companies out there that are trying to help educate workplaces so that employers don't feel lost. Like, I don't know how to implement a policy at all. What does that mean? Does it mean people get a fan at their desk? Well, no, it means that, there's some education, there's possibly some access, there's possibly, days off, paid days off if possible. You've got to like figure out according to who's working where, but you've got to figure out what you do according to those women that need it the most.
Yeah.
But I think education and understanding is,
It's key. And I think too, kudos to all the doctors who have kind of broken camp from traditional medicine and moved over into the menopause space full time, which is great, amazing. It's unfortunate because, as you know, a lot of what the doctors face is dictated by the insurance companies.
Sure.
So they only have these tiny windows to be able to talk to women. And when you're going through menopause, I mean, just the list of questions alone and the conversations, that alone blows through maybe just a portion of your visit time, which is unfortunate because unless a woman really seeks a menopause care specialist, she's probably not going to get the time and attention that she needs. And it just makes me wonder, what's going to happen in traditional medicine to give that woman a chance?
Yeah. I mean, it's broken. There's no doctors will tell you that part is broken in so many ways because it's so difficult. These doctors see so many patients a week to try to help and get them through. I'm grateful for telemedicine. I think it's made it. I think for everything that we get frustrated about with computers or social media, I think telemedicine has been a blessing in so many ways for so many women. There are so many pockets where you can't find a doctor or an OBGYN or somebody that understands it or specializes in it. So to be able to have somebody that can listen and understand, that's half the battle. Half the battle is understanding what you're going through.
Right.
And then you can work from that place. You're not working from a place of fear or lack of understanding. So I'm grateful in that area. And I feel like we're going to see more of those type of advances and hopefully next level from there of being able to help these women in mass. We're talking about 1 billion women worldwide that are going to be in menopause by 2025. That's shocking to me.
It's
half
huge.
The world's population.
Yeah, which is why your documentary needs to be able to be seen globally as well, because there's so many women in communities outside the United States where these conversations aren't running as deep as they are here, and it's still considered taboo, and they are hungry for information and advocacy. So what you're doing is amazing. And also to your point about telehealth, I'm seeing advancements there too. There are companies that are popping up in the telehealth space that are now fully dedicated for menopausal care, which is amazing. So, there are resources. You have to be a seeker, right? You have to decide, okay, this is important to me. I need to reach out in my community or maybe outside of my community and see, what kind of access. I'm sure you've had a lot of women reach out to you. What do you tell them to do to be able to advocate for themselves?
Yeah, I always hate that they have to, because I always feel like, oh gosh, you're like operating from this place of like a little fogginess, tired, not feeling like yourself. No, by the way, make sure, but it's so important because it's the only way we're going to move this ball forward, or they're going to feel better in at least a quicker amount of time. So, there's a couple of things I always say, like the best way to find somebody, at least a practitioner, if that's what you're looking for, is to see who's in your community and ask around. So whether you have a reference from, telehealth or a doctor, I think that's a great place to start. And two, I was one of those people that's like, I've had my doctor 20 years. I can't leave my doctor. I love my doctor. But the truth is, my doctor wasn't talking to me about any of that. I'd had 3 surgeries prior to that. No one ever mentioned perimenopause to me, ever. And so 3 endometrium polyp surgeries, and no one said a thing. And those were my years I would have been going through it. So I really had to go and find somebody that, would talk to me about it. And then, I have a list of questions that I say women should be asking. And they're along the lines of like, do you feel comfortable talking about this? Would you prescribe this? Am I a candidate for it? How do I know if I'm a candidate for it? What are my other options if I'm not? I think you've got to really drill down quickly, because to your point, you get 7 minutes or however much it is. You've got to know what you're dealing with versus leaving there with nothing, no answers, and then waiting another 6 months till you see your doctor again.
Yeah, I agree. I think you kind of have to come in with your own pre-researched punch list of things that you do need to address. And I think something else we should talk about too, and I'm sure you found this to be true just in your own journey. Menopause isn't one size fits all, and it's also not one treatment fits you for the rest of your life. I mean, you change as you're going through menopause. Your body changes, your estrogen levels will change, how your body even receives the estrogen that you're supplementing with, if you can or choose to, changes. Sleep affects it, diet affects it. I mean, on and on and on and on we go. I mean, it's wild. So, I think that it's when you find your doctor and you get on a plan or a protocol. I just want to encourage women, don't think that, you're done. This is an ongoing journey and experience. And you just have to be so aware of your body and in tune with it, and to communicate that, right? Or else you will never get the care and the treatment that you really deserve.
I'm so glad you said that, because we say the words like, oh, it's different for everybody, but the truth is that it's also ongoing. And I mean, I don't know about you, but like I started at a 0.25 of my estrogen, then I'm at 0.5. Now I'm at a 0.75. Now I've added testosterone into it. Oh, you are?
Yes.
Is it better?
Yes.
Because I think I'm needing that.
Yeah.
I think I need that.
I had to go up, but now I'm sleeping.
Oh yeah. Okay. Well, I made a phone call and I have a set an appointment, so we'll see. So I might be right there with you.
Okay.
But so I have had to add different things. I have had to change, how I eat, what I eat, when I eat. All those things are all part of it. And does it get frustrating sometimes? Yes.
Yep.
Do I know that my body is changed from when I was 20 years old? Yes. But am I really proud of the fact that like I understand it and I understand what's going on? That's the part I feel good about. So when we do tell women to advocate for themselves, they're doing it from a place of their own knowledge versus a place of like fumbling around in a dark room trying to look for the light. And I think that that's what we're trying to provide, is that light switch.
Yeah. And you know what? I think it's an opportunity too. I mean, we can look at it and we can be frustrated that we've got to tend to all these different things, right? Whereas, when we were in our 20s and 30s, we were like throwing caution to the wind. It didn't matter. But we weren't healthier. Yeah, exactly. Who cares? Pizza, great. Fine. A couple glasses of wine, no big deal. Whatever. I'm really, really grateful that we have to be so mindful of what we take in and what we put out, because I think it makes us healthier. This season and journey in our lives, because all of those things can be such disruptors if not done well, that it makes us do well if we want to feel well. And I kind of like that, because I like the accountability to live a better life. I know it's making me healthier in the long run.
Yep. Well, it makes you healthier, and then I also think that it makes you stop and go a little bit slower for a second and
Yes.
realize you just can't run and gun through everything, because I think that that's important, and it's kind of what we do.
Yeah, exactly. So, speaking of running and gunning, you now have a new book coming
Yes.
out shortly.
Yeah.
I know your time to rest will be coming. This
It'll
is
be
not your rest season, my dear. So, we're going to talk about your new book right after this break. My guest today is Tamsen Fadal, and it is All Things Menopause. We'll be back right after this.
Tis the season for some shapewear. Fa la 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 la. Yes, yours truly is wearing her favorite Honey Love bra. The best-selling crossover bra is so comfy, it will be your go-to. No pinching, no binding, all the support you need. And underwires, sorry y'all, those things are a thing of the past. You can say goodbye to the uncomfortable underwire and bulky fabrics that trap heat in traditional shapewear. Honey Love bras feature super supportive bonding that eliminates the need for that underwire without sacrificing lift. Plus, they are made with a fabric that is so soft, so comfortable, you won't want to take them off. Absolutely perfect underneath those cozy winter sweaters. And the shapewear, hey, let me tell you, for this season, when you've got to wear that just right dress, you're going to want the just right shapewear. Treat yourself to the best bras and shapewear on the market. Shop Honey Love's holiday sale and save an additional 20% off site-wide at honeylove.com/over50. Use our exclusive link to get 20% off, honeylove.com/over50, to find your perfect fit. After your purchase, they'll ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show. Tell them we sent you. It is time to ditch the underwire for good, thanks to Honey Love.
Welcome back. We are having a very insightful and enjoyable, yes, we can have enjoyable conversations about menopause because the cat's out of the bag. It's been out of the bag. We've been talking about it for years now. My guest, Tamsen Fadal, has a documentary, and we've been talking about that. And you've got a new book coming out called How to Menopause. Okay, you told me a commercial break, and it took me forever to come up with that title. Now, why? How to Menopause? I mean, that just seems so intuitive.
Just flows off your tongue.
It
I
does.
had close to, I think, 300 or 400 titles. I was like, it took months, Dominique. It took months. And I remember I had jury duty. So I was sitting downtown New York in jury duty. And I'm like, I am going to give a whole list of titles. I'm going to make sure, like, I'm going to get every title I can think of. I came away from there with like 350 titles, and I sent it to my publisher. And she's like, are you out of your mind? What are we going to do with it? You've got to narrow these down. I was like, I can't pick. And she was, well, I can't pick. And I said, I don't know what to do. So then I don't know if you do this, but my brother calls it the, like, the polling. I poll everybody. So I'm like, call my dad. Dad, what is my dad going to tell me about a menopause book? What do you think a good title is? I don't know. He had something, and it was like, the wings of change or something. I'm like, Dad, what is that? No, what? And so, so I'm sure it was like, who knows where he heard that. And then I asked my sister-in-law, my brother, I was like doing all these polls. Then I did social media. And so I wound up coming down to a few. And so I'll give you the ones I can remember.
Okay.
One was called.
These are like baby names, by the way.
I know. I never had this is my baby name. The first one was like, When Life Gives You Hot Flashes, because I thought that was like creative, but then it was too quippy and cute. The other one was Coming in Hot, and the other one was,
I like that.
That was fun. And then this one was How to Menopause. And then I was just like, you know what? It's just How to Menopause. That's what we're going with. Mm-hmm. And then I went with it, and then I'm like, wait a minute, I don't know if I want to go with that. And they were like, too late.
You're stuck with it.
That's what you're going with.
Okay, well, wait, what's your tagline? Do you have a tagline?
Yes. Take charge of your health, reclaim your life, and feel even better than before.
There you go.
So my tagline was kind of where I came full circle with it all. But I was like, I have more words for the tagline. They're like, that's the maximum amount of words.
You know what?
I have lots to say.
I will say, Coming in Hot is really cute. But here's the thing. We all know menopause is so much more than hot flashes.
Yeah.
So I like what you chose because it's all encompassing. And then your tagline really gets into the detail of what that means.
Yeah.
So are you at peace?
Yeah, that's fine. Yes, I'm finally at peace.
Okay,
and I had somebody. Yeah, no, I am. I had two people that I like. I was talking to at an event, and they were like, "How to menopause? That is a brilliant title. And I went, thank you. Thank you very much. And so I was like so pleased. So I'm at
It
peace
was one out
finally.
of 357.
I was like that jury duty the whole time. I'm like coming in on fire, coming in, I had like all this. It was crazy. It was
Yeah.
crazy, but it was
Oh,
good.
well,
It
I
was
love
fun.
it. I love it. Okay, so when does the book come out?
The book comes out March 25th, 2025. And, I love interviewing. So I
Yeah.
interviewed 42 experts for the book. So that was really fun. And I wanted it to go beyond the doctor's office, because the documentary goes into the doctor's office and we talk about hormones, non-hormones, and supplements. But I wanted it to really go beyond that. So we talk about relationships during this time. We talk about
Mm,
mindset, workplace, community. And so I wanted it to be, what happens in this time in life. So whether you're perimenopause or menopausal, or, I don't usually use postmenopausal, but anything after menopause, there's something in it for you for lifestyle. And that was important for me to do because it's what I wish I had.
yeah. Boy, so glad that you put relationships in there because that's a biggie. I mean, not only, your relationship with your spouse, your partner, how you interact with your children. What were some of the things that you shared with or will be sharing with the reader come March?
Yeah. Well, I was married in menopause, so that
Mhm.
was kind of I got married at, 50.
Did you
And
interview Ira for that part?
no, he was like, "Listen, I know that you put some of this in your little like rough draft, but what's in the real thing?" And I said, "Well, kind of, everything, like, our honeymoon." He's like, "What on our honeymoon?" So I said, "You're just going to have to read the book and find out." So he has yet to read that chapter. He's read all of it around, but he hasn't read that chapter. And it's not like it's so salacious, but it was important for me to put in because I had like no libido. I had no sex drive. I'm like recently married. I'm in Hawaii, the most romantic place in the world.
Right.
So it was important for me, though, to do a couple of things to really let women know that they're not alone in having either painful sex or no libido, that there are solutions to it, and that it is a time that you have to pay attention to. Like, I don't think it's just like, hope everything works out the way it did when I was younger. So it really is a time to do what we said before, is to slow down a little bit and pay attention to it and put it on your radar, and not as if something that just kind of naturally always happens. And so I wanted women to feel assured that, this is just not just them, and that it could be their husband, but it could be their hormones too. And so to figure
And
out which one,
investigate.
yes. So it could be either one.
Yeah.
Because relationships are important, and not just relationships, romantic, but also friendships, also, workplace relationships, also relationships with family. I think that all of that, kind of comes to a head during this time, and we assess and we reassess what's important and what serves us, and then what may not.
Yeah. And you know what I think relationship really comes to the forefront is the relationship with yourself. It can be such a quagmire, right? I
Yeah.
mean, you can feel just like a visitor in your own body. You don't feel like you belong. It doesn't feel like home. Moods and irritability and
Yeah.
things that maybe you've never experienced before, you're suddenly experiencing, and it just doesn't feel safe being at home inside yourself. And I think that's just so critical to let women know that that can be a normal part of the journey. And while it's a part of the experience, it's certainly not okay to stay there and
Yeah.
to really examine that because, we're such pleasers as women, right? We want to make sure that everybody else in our lives is cared for and tended to, and that we're helping them understand us. But oftentimes we forget to help us understand us. And
Yeah. There's
if
no
that's the
question.
takeaway, for women in this journey is that they just feel like it's okay, to figure this out, and you will.
Yeah, I think we have to give ourselves permission and give each other permission too, and not be so hard on ourselves or each other. I always go back and I think like, my mom never got to this age,
Mhm. You
and I think
lost
about
your
that a lot.
mom,
And I
and
think,
she was in her
she was
50s.
51. Yeah, she was 51. And so I think about those things. And so I'm grateful to where I am. I'm grateful for the time that, I'm here and that I can be around people, and you know that better than anybody, that, those moments are really precious.
Yeah. I dare ask what's next. I'm hoping a long vacation. You.
Sleep. I'm going up to a 1.0. That's
Yeah,
next.
exactly. You're up in
Um,
the hatch. Um, no, but I mean, I'm so happy for you, but I do hope you have plans to, kind of hit the
Thank you.
brakes too and take care
Thank
of
you.
yourself. I mean, it's, we journey in this life and sometimes we got to come in hot and we
I
got to hit
know.
the gas and then sometimes we got to hit the brakes. And I feel like
I
you're going to
know.
be nearing that season when you're going to want
I
to hit
think
the
I'll be
brakes.
nearing that season. The book comes out in March, and so I
Yeah.
know that there's like a lot of traveling up through then. And then
Yes.
I was saying to Ira, like, what am I going to do in April? And he goes, I
Right.
don't know. You're making all these plans already. And I'm like, you're right. Okay, what are we going to do in May? So
Yes.
we'll get there. We'll get there of the calm for a little while. It'll be
Yeah.
nice.
Oh, it'll be so great. But I'm so happy for you. I'm
Thank
so
you.
happy to just continue to talk about your journey and all the great things that you're doing, not only for you, but for all the women out there who are in this space. And I'm so immensely proud of you and
Thanks.
just grateful to know you, my dear.
Oh, I feel the same way. And thank you for creating this space for women because it means a lot. I mean, you know how I feel about you. And I'm grateful and I'm always cheering you on. And it's nice to feel like you do that for somebody. It's really nice.
Yeah, well, ditto. And congratulations. And I'm just rock on, sister. What can I
Thank you.
say? Thank
Thank
you for
you.
being with us today. Come back soon.
I will, I promise.
Okay.
We have links to all of Tamsen's work below if you would like to check her out. I really hope you do check out her new documentary. It is so informative and inspiring. So thank you to her and to all of the women in the menopause space for getting the word out there. I'd like to get the word out there about anything in particular you want to hear. So this is your chance to let me know what kind of subjects would you like to hear. Maybe you have a particular guest in mind. If you're watching in YouTube, I encourage you to put your suggestion below in the comment section. I appreciate that in advance. If you haven't subscribed already, click that little red button, the subscribe button. That way you'll be notified every time I release a podcast, which is Monday at 1 p.m., or a YouTube video on Thursday at 1 p.m. So you get two different types of content here on YouTube. And if you listen wherever you listen to your podcast, whether it's Apple, Spotify, you name it, can I just ask if you wouldn't mind to rate, review, subscribe, and share Over 50 and Flourishing with those you know and love? Let's continue to grow this incredible midlife community of really, really smart, insightful, and wise women. Glad to count you among one of them. Thank you for being here, and I'll see you next week.